This is the sardine run, the world's largest marine migration.
It's like the greatest show on Earth. It's madness. It's absolute chaos, but there's so much energy and so much life.
Woo, look at that ball.
This massive fish on the coast of South Africa draws the ocean's most feared predators. It also draws one of its most docile, the manta ray, an unlikely guest.
As I'm jumping into these waters that are full of sharks, my mind's racing because I don't understand why mantas would be in this hostile environment to begin with. What is it that they're coming down here to do?
Manta researcher Andrea Marshall and her team of specialists dive into the sardine run to unlock this mystery on a first-ever manta ray expedition to South Africa's wild coast. The wild coast of South Africa stretches for 170 miles. Here, the waters of the Indian and the Atlantic converge, forcing powerful waves towards the shoreline. Its savage winds and heavy seas have claimed many ships.
There is a reason why they call this the Wild Coast. It's incredibly hostile. In really cold waters, incredibly turbulent. I've been put into all kinds of different environments, but this is by far the hardest conditions that I've ever worked in.
Andrea Marshall is one of the world's leading experts on manta rays. Oceanic mantas are among the world's largest fish. Andrea's research is primarily based in Mozambique, but today she's embarking on her first manta ray expedition across the border to South Africa. And it's one of her own manta rays that's brought her here.
The very first manta that I tagged made a beeline down the coast from Mozambique to South Africa, and it begged the question, where is this manta going? And for the first time, I realized that they may not live in Mozambique, where I've been studying them for the past 15 years.
Mantas inhabit tropical waters in every ocean and are heavily fished for their gill rakers, which are used in Chinese medicine. Despite their size, little is known about their movements, which makes them hard to protect, especially in international waters. Andrea is hoping to prove that the mantas she studies in Mozambique are migrating to South Africa. She believes mantas may be attending the sardine run, a mass fish spawning event on South Africa's wild coast. But mantas eat plankton, not fish, so the question is, why?
I couldn't wait to make this sort of migration of my own to find out what is happening down at this sardine run. Are there mantas there? What are they doing along this coastline?
Andrea and her team travel nearly 900 miles south, from Tofo in Mozambique to Port St. John's, known to divers as the heart of the sardine run. Though the forces that drive the annual journey of the sardines aren't completely understood, it's believed that the fish abandon colder waters off the southern tip of Africa and travel north in pursuit of more favorable conditions. For much of the year, the warm Agulhas current sweeps southwest, keeping temperatures too high for the sardines. But in winter, a corridor of cooler water allows the fish to comfortably move up the coast. As the sardines move north, Andrea believes the mantas in Mozambique are migrating south. It's June, the start of winter in South Africa. The cold water is beginning to move up the coast, bringing with it the sardines. Millions of them, in rippling masses that can stretch for more than 9 miles. It's a migration that rivals the journey of the wildebeest across the plains of the African savanna. Along the way, strong currents push plankton to the surface, providing a steady source of food for the migrating sardines. As the fish converge on the surface, they make ideal targets for hungry predators.
Superpods of dolphins, sharks, birds, and whales. So essentially, all of these predators from all over South Africa descend upon this really narrow stretch of coastline.
Swimming through this swirl of sharp teeth are giant oceanic manta rays. With a wingspan of 22 feet, they're as wide as a pickup truck is long. But these passive filter feeders are easy targets in an area teeming with top predators. The giants are defenseless against sharks. Manta rays rely solely on their speed and their flattened bodies for protection. A bite to the manta's flat, large wings generally won't be fatal. To kill a ray, a shark must bite through the central body that contains its vital organs. Manta rays are incredibly fast through the water and can hit top speeds of 20 miles an hour to escape predators. Manta rays have no sharp teeth, no venom, no defensive weapon to speak of. Unlike their relatives, the stingrays, which have a protective spine at the base of their tail, mantas don't have a stinger to fend off attackers.
They're really quite vulnerable. Why they would come all this way and hang out in this area when there's so many predators, we have no idea. And that's the question that's driving us. What are these manta rays doing off this coastline? I've assembled a team of international scientists. We brought in Dr. Fabrice Jane all the way from Australia, who's a telemetry specialist on manta rays, and we're going to try and deploy the first tags in South African history. Cheers for days.
Andrea hopes her satellite tags and Fabrice's new camera tags will provide some much-needed answers. If they can fit a manta ray with both tags, they'll learn where the ray is going and get a first-ever look at what it's doing when nobody's watching. But first, they need to analyze the manta track that's brought them here, to the sardine run in the first place. They hope that retracing the steps of this manta ray will help them find others.
So for the first part of the track, it spent quite a bit of time in front of Tofu, where you were based.
Wow,
but then it
really
headed
did.
south. And it went south all along the coastline, fairly close to the shelf edge again. And it ended up in South Africa and ended up near Port St. John's.
So what are these animals doing down here? It's freezing, and there's a lot of sharks.
Yeah, I mean, look, the continental shelf seems to be right up close to the coastline. So that's something that's quite interesting. There may be some upwelling happening,
Okay.
a lot of productivity being brought up onto the shelf
That's a great point.
near the coastline. So it may be food related, but it may be related to the sardine run as well. You know, a lot of food scraps in the water and so on. So
It's so cool. Dolphins and whales and sharks all descending upon this coastline
Yeah.
every year. To have mantas here in the mix is just so exciting.
yeah, can't wait to get in the
I
water.
know, I can't wait to get in the water either.
Tomorrow will be the first of many grueling days of fieldwork to uncover why this manta ray migrated to the sharkiest coastline on Earth.
It's going to be a really challenging few weeks because this is a really wild part of the world. In fact, it's probably the most challenging place that I've ever had to do research. I've prepped my team, I've told them that this is not going to be a walk in the park, but I'm actually excited to come out and do research in places like this because it is a challenge.
Day one of the expedition, and the team faces its first obstacle before they even make it out to sea. The pounding waves of the wild coast limit the launch of the boat to just one spot. Andrea and her team must leave through Port St. John's river mouth and tackle incoming waves head on.
We're waking up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. It's bitterly cold. The launches are extreme. We're launching through these massive waves, so you get soaking wet. I mean, it is such an exciting location, but obviously it's not a very easy location to do any research.
The team eventually clears the breakers, but the hardest part is yet to come.
You're freezing cold on the boat in this wind, looking for mantas. You have to get in this freezing cold water, and you have to find it in visibility that sometimes is less than a meter, and you know there's sharks everywhere. I knew from the outset that it was going to be really difficult in water conditions, so I wanted to give myself the best leg up that we could possibly have. And one of the most important tools in our arsenal is having aerial support. The fact that my husband's a pilot and we can fly the coast and find the mantas from the air is a huge blessing for us.
So my role at the Sardine Run is to fly in a plane and to spot the animals from the air. It's very difficult, harsh conditions, bad visibility, big swell, everything. So you can see way better from the air than in the water itself.
Plankton blooms cloud the water, creating the poor underwater visibility. An aerial perspective allows Janneman to spot disturbances on the surface caused by swarming sardines and guide the divers to the action. Like the sardines, mantas feed on plankton. The hope is that finding the sardines will lead the team to the manta rays. As millions of sardines migrate up South Africa's east coast, in their wake, a convoy of predators trails behind. In an army of sardines, thousands strong, a single fish is much harder to target. The sardines move as one, in a formation called a bait ball.
These bait balls can be huge. They can be bigger than a football field sometimes. And what happens is the sardines come up and they get pushed to the surface by the predators. It can be small fish like tuna, or it can be dolphins. And as soon as they push them out of the water and they disturb that water, that's what I see.
Janneman has yet to spot a manta, but the seas below are exploding with action. Dolphins work as a team to herd the sardines into an even tighter formation, increasing their odds of catching a fish. They surround the school and use their fluke, or tail, to drive any fish that swim astray back to the formation. Once a tightly concentrated bait ball is formed, the dolphins take turns hunting. As each dolphin rockets through the shoal, the others stay close by to herd the fish back into the group. Then, the dolphin pod tightens the noose. They force the sardines to the surface, eliminating a possible escape route. For the sardines, it goes from bad to worse. The feeding frenzy attracts the ocean's most feared hunters. Sharks. A bronze whaler shark arrives on the scene. Unlike dolphins, the sharks hunt independently.
The very first time I jump in at the sardine run, my mind is blown. You know, it's unlike any environment I've ever worked in. There's predators everywhere, the visibility is not good, it's cold water, there's birds all over the place smashing in the ocean.
It's been 2 days, and the team has seen plenty of action in the water.
That is awesome. Woo, look at that ball. Go, little fishies, go.
But so far, no manta rays.
I show up at the sardine run and there's nothing there, and I thought, oh, what if they don't come? There's so much pressure as a field biologist. You have such a narrow window of time to execute some of this research. I really want to protect them, but in order to do that properly, we need to know everything about them, including where they go when they leave Mozambique. That's fundamentally important to their conservation, and that's what's driven me all the way down the coast to South Africa, is to try and find out, do they spend time along this coastline? What are they doing? Actually, do they spend the majority of their time off this coastline? You know, these are the questions that are really important to answer.
The manta ray population back north in Mozambique seems to be in sharp decline. In the last 15 years, manta sightings at Tofo Beach, where Andrea works, have dropped by more than 80%. Some rays are accidentally tangled in gill nets cast along the beach. Others are targeted for their gill rakers, the filaments that help manta rays filter feed. Rakers are popular in Chinese medicine and are in high demand on the black market.
Knowing that we're running out of time, that these animals are, threatened with extinction, that we have no idea what's happening to them along this coast, why their numbers are plummeting, and if we don't answer these questions, then we're not going to be able to help protect them.
The team's air-to-ground search uncovers no mantas.
There's a tremendous amount of internal pressure as well as a biologist that says, like, we don't have the time to screw this up. This is mission critical, and we have to get this done.
Then 92 meters.
Andrea and Fabrice revisit the manta ray track.
So I guess what we
They enlist the help of oceanographer Lisa Holton to interpret the data. The team hopes that an understanding of the topography and ocean currents can provide some much-needed clues on the whereabouts of these mantas, so Andrea and Fabrice can tag them.
The interesting bit of the track is really of Port St. John's there. It did that circle pattern offshore.
Whenever, as an oceanographer, you see circles, it points to an eddy. And it's very possible there is an eddy around there.
An eddy is a circular movement of water that counters the general direction of the ocean's current to create a whirlpool. Eddies are common in the ocean and can range from several inches to hundreds of miles in diameter. Their swirling motion forces nutrients, normally found in colder, deeper waters, to the surface.
Your manta probably came down on the Gullis Current, which is the big, warm, salty current that comes down the western coast.
Yeah.
The Gullis is very strong and fast. It's about 4 centimeters a second.
Okay.
Wow.
At the surface, which is pretty speedy. And when it comes down, it creates a lot of instabilities, and that's what forms these circular motions or meanders, and all of these things can lead to upwelling and produce nutrients, which drives productivity and food for your mantas.
The possibility that the mantas are drawn to feed at a revolving eddy in the ocean current is an important clue. Manta rays feed almost entirely on plankton. Their favorite is zooplankton, the tiny animals that float in the current. When plankton is evenly distributed within the water column, a manta ray will feed mid-water by swimming with its giant mouth wide open. A specialized set of gills, outfitted with filters, traps the plankton as the water flows through. When enough plankton is caught, the manta ray closes its mouth and coughs the food into its throat to swallow it. An adult manta ray can weigh as much as a car and can eat more than 60 pounds of plankton in a single day. With a diet composed of tiny organisms, eating is a full-time job for this giant fish. The manta ray will travel miles across the open ocean in search of dense patches of plankton where it can feed more efficiently. Upwelling events provide this opportunity. Currents force plankton to the surface, where it collects in large sheets, an easy meal for the manta rays. If Lisa and the team are right, and the manta rays are in fact migrating here to feed on plankton delivered to the coast by the upwelling, the rays should be easy to spot. When these ocean giants surface to feed, they create large turbulent wakes, which can be seen from great distances.
We've been at the sardine run now on expedition in Port St. John's for the last 3 days without seeing mantas at all, which is what we're here to do some research on. I don't know why we're not seeing any.
Andrea and Janneman carefully scan the water, keeping an eye out for manta rays feeding at the surface. Armed with a camera, Andrea zooms in on any promising shadows in the water. Finally, she spots an oceanic manta ray, and then another one. Janneman sees a third ray, but this one isn't what they expected. Stunned at what they think they've seen, Janneman spins the plane around to get a second look. What they've spotted is a big surprise.
That was an epic flight. I cannot believe we found mantas. After 3 solid days of not seeing mantas, we found 2 giant mantas and incredibly a reef manta.
Reef manta rays are almost half the size of giant oceanic mantas, about 10 feet wide. As the name suggests, reef manta rays live on reefs, along tropical coasts, and oceanic islands. It's believed they migrate across their range to exploit seasonal resources and find mates. The two are easy to tell apart. A reef manta has a Y-shaped pattern on the back and a spotted belly. The giant manta has fewer spots on its underside and a T-shaped pattern on its back. The discovery of a reef manta ray in these waters is a huge coup for the team. Reef manta rays move far less than migratory oceanic rays and likely are resident off this part of the South African coast.
This is the most southerly distribution of reef mantas in all of Africa. Glad the mantas are here, and I'm just excited for the week, and hopefully we can get the tags on.
Although the team has located the rays, there's still a lot of work to be done. Andrea brought her satellite tags, which measure everything from water temperature to depth and pressure, as well as tracking a manta's whereabouts via satellite. In addition, Fabrice hopes to test a brand new technology that will allow the team to see, for the first time ever, what a manta sees.
So the idea...
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing looking.
It's a bit of a contraption, but it's actually quite nice. So the tag is pretty much this little bullet there. And so the main thing is it's got a camera in the front, which can film HD. And then we've got a pressure sensor, light sensor, temperature sensor. So it's very similar to those satellite tags. But in addition to that, yeah, it has the camera, and it also has acceleration in 3 dimensions.
Amazing. How does that work?
So pretty much the way we've designed it is that you just lodge the camera in the slot, pretty much. That orange thing is pretty much the float. So we've tried to streamline it as much as possible, so based a bit on the remora design.
Fabrice's tag mimics the shape and size of a remora fish. Also known as suckerfish, remoras attach themselves to larger hosts, like manta rays, for easy transit. As the name suggests, the suckerfish uses its modified dorsal fin as a suction cup to cling onto its host for long-distance voyages. Similarly, Fabrice's tag attachment uses specialized suction cups, modeled after the remora's mouth.
I'm so impressed by that design. I cannot wait to get it on a manta. That's going to be so exciting.
It's taken a few years of development and, you know, ideas put together and all of that. So we're really hoping that we get some success.
I love when we can make history like this and, you know, put something on that's, you know, so wild and wacky, but it's going to give us some great information.
With their tags prepped, the team heads out in hopes of putting the first ever camera tag on a manta ray.
Gentlemen, come in.
Yes.
Do you got something for us?
It's about 2 nautical miles. There's 2 giant mantas feeding at the surface.
Big ones.
Yeah, 2 big ones. That's about 4 meters, maybe that one, maybe 5 meters. All right, I'm coming over. I'll give you guys a heading.
All right, that's perfect. We don't want to lose them.
This is the moment they've been waiting for. A chance to deploy the new tags.
Just right there, we can see its back. Manta as big as the boat. This is it, Fabrice. Make it happen.
There
It's right there. It's at the surface again.
Stand by, it's turning, it's turning.
No, we got it. We got a visual.
Coming right at us.
Let's make history, people. For Fabrice, he'd been working on this tag for 2-3 years, and we have this really narrow window of time, and so the pressure is really on.
Dead ahead, swim!
I'm rooting from the boat, you know, as these guys are in the water swimming as hard as they can, but the mantas just stay one step ahead of them.
Left! Going to Fabrice, going towards Fabrice! Oh, there's the dorsal. Oh, come on, guys.
They just never let them get close. We had come so far, and the manta's right there, and they just seem to be, you know, a body length in front of them.
Fabrice isn't able to deploy his camera tag, but the manta ray is still nearby. So now it's Andrea's turn. She'll try to deploy one of her satellite tags. And like Fabrice, she must do it without the help of scuba gear.
As I jump into the water, it's a really different situation than I'm normally used to because normally I'm on scuba.
At the sardine run, the manta rays feed on the surface. Free diving gives the team the best chance of tagging. Foregoing the scuba gear allows the divers to act fast and swim fast.
As I hit the water, I realize I have only a few minutes with this animal. I have to do all this work on a single breath.
There, straight ahead of you. Left, Andrea.
You're swimming as fast as you possibly can and then trying to hold your breath. As I'm swimming towards this manta, I hardly have any breath as it is. And as I duck under, I have about 30 seconds to get this tag on, and you just feel that pressure.
Against these odds, Andrea manages to attach the tag.
Did you get it? Woo! Well done, you guys!
Andrea carefully aimed her pole spear toward the crease of the manta ray's wing, where it won't hurt or limit its mobility. Even so, this type of tag requires piercing the skin of the animal. Marine biologists worldwide are looking for a safer tagging method, and Fabrice's non-invasive suction tags may be the answer, if the team can find a way to get close enough to properly secure the tag onto a manta. The next few days produce mixed results for the team. There are several more manta sightings, and Andrea is able to deploy another satellite tag, The team will now be able to track 2 manta rays' whereabouts and hopefully uncover why these gentle giants are coming to some of the sharkiest waters on Earth. But they're still no closer to attaching Fabrice's new camera tag. He manages one close call, and the suction cup briefly sticks onto the manta, but detaches as the ray speeds off.
We weren't having luck with the suction cups the other day, so Fabrice spent all night kind of reworking it so that the camera has like a fin clamp on it now, which is amazing.
The whole idea is that we're going to deploy that clamp onto the dorsal fin. The clamp's going to stay attached for a couple of hours.
That's amazing.
Okay, I've got a manta. It's swimming at the surface.
It sounds like Jan just found another manta. So which one are you going to try? Are you going to try this first and then that one, or?
No, I think I'm going to go for this one.
All right,
Yeah?
let's give it a go.
Sounds good. All right.
Jeez, it's huge. Fabrice, it's huge. It's huge. It's a big one. Okay, stop, go. Perfect, go straight. Swim.
Coming straight for you.
But the manta turns upside down and ducks below Fabrice, making a quick escape.
Is it a female?
Big, beautiful giant. We'll have to double check, but definitely very interactive, very friendly, very relaxed. So
Let's go again.
Let's go.
The manta's at your 1 o'clock, 30 meters.
30 meters, we're almost on it.
This time, Andrea tries her luck, deploying one of Fabrice's tags.
Now that we had the first attempt, the manta knows that we're after it. It's not necessarily scared, but it's just cautious. When we approach it, it wants to see what we are.
She comes within inches of the ray, but at the last second, it flees. Manta rays have good vision. Their wide-set eyes provide a broad field of view. But they have a blind spot directly behind them. An approach from the side will cause the ray to flip its body upside down so it can turn around to evaluate any possible threat. This technique gives the manta a better view. It also presents the largest possible surface area of its body to the unknown object to dissuade potential predators from attacking. Once again, Andrea approaches the manta, this time from the rear. She's careful to remain in its blind spot, to not spook the ray.
Janneman's yelling from the air, you're like, there's the manta. You know, the people from the boat are saying, swim faster, but nobody knows what it feels like to be in the water with that type of pressure on you.
Right in, 5 meters. Look, underwater.
And it's all riding on you and on that moment.
The tag is on. But not for long.
Ah, shame, man, that was so exciting. Ah, ah. Science! We followed this manta for ages. It's at the surface, dorsal fin right there. Managed to get it on. I thought, it's done. And it swam away with speed, and it looks like the speed of the manta's movements kind of broke the tag apart, so it floated to the surface. It's really exciting to be able to test tags for the very first time. I love doing this type of work. It's basically like pushing the envelope on science, you know, and methodologies and figuring out how we can study these animals in a new way.
They spend the next 2 days searching for giant manta rays, desperate to test the new attachment. What they find instead surprises them.
What's happening?
Baby manta.
Where?
80 meters, 11 o'clock.
I was absolutely shocked the very first time that we approached with the boat, and it became clear to me that this was a baby.
We're gonna sneak up.
There's some ripples on the surface.
Yeah. Very chilled.
Do you see it?
Yeah. Busy feeding.
It's super, super small, guys.
Let's try and approach really gently. Yeah? It's just here, it's just here.
Right, it's coming towards the boat.
I think this might be the smallest manta I've ever seen.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, guys.
There we
Here.
go. You got a visual?
Oh my God, it's so small. Oh, come on, this is the one. This is the history right here. It's gonna not just be the first tag on ever like this, but it's gonna be the babiest manta ever.
The team gives the suction cup attachment another shot. But the manta takes off.
Looks like they had a close one. What happened, Fabrice?
It's a beautiful small reef manta, female, and she's really tiny. She's like 1 to 1.5 meters, and she's very relaxed, just feeding at the surface, very chilled. So we tried to get really close gently, then she dived down and disappeared.
In the coming days, the excitement continues.
Look at that! That is amazing!
They find more baby mantas.
Wow, that is a miniature manta. Oh my, that is a newborn manta. That one was born yesterday.
The team gets a second chance to tag a baby reef manta ray.
Turning towards you. 10 meters.
Slightly to the left, slightly to the left.
Coming towards you. It's a little bit on your left. Turning away.
Just turning, they must look towards their right.
90 degrees right.
It's just there, guys. Keep going.
Oh, breach.
Manta breach.
That is the
Manta.
wow! Baby manta breaching! Amazing!
Once again, the suction tags just don't seem to be sticking. But these sightings alone excite the researchers.
Now, to me, that is so shocking because at birth, these animals are very, very small, only about 1.5 meters, and completely defenseless. I would assume that a lot of these baby mantas would become shark bait. But at the same time, I mean, if this is a natural pupping ground, then we need to know about it because that would be another really important part of the puzzle. We very, very rarely see baby mantas. So again, it was a shock to be able to see not just one, but several of them at the sardine run. It's really telling, you know, it obviously shows that baby mantas are born in the vicinity.
It's unlikely that adult reef mantas would come to these shark-filled waters specifically to give birth. So the presence of all the babies implies there is a resident population of reef manta rays along this coast, the most southerly distribution of reef mantas known to science. As the expedition continues, the team consistently finds mantas, though only in specific pockets of water. They're eager to find out why the rays are favoring these particular areas. As research picks up on the water, Janneman faces an unexpected problem in the air.
I started hearing a clicking sound in my engine. I knew something was funny. I readied the boat instantly and told them, guys, get ready. And that's when I started descending without an engine. So you're literally just like drifting through the air, and it's that sweeping sound of the wind. Anything can happen while you're in the sky. And for me, the scariest part of all of this, anything can happen over the ocean. So normal people fly over land. If something happens, they can just find a place to land or a road. In the ocean, there's only one way, and that's in the drink, in the water. I don't know what you call it, maybe luck, but I made it back to the beach.
Janneman was able to land unscathed. The same can't be said for his plane. He enlists the help of some local kids to move the plane closer to the mouth of a river flowing to the beach. It's the only entry point to the beach from inland. It'll be a few hours before help arrives. While Janneman deals with recovering the plane, the team must find new ways to carry out their final days of research. The winds have picked up, and the water's choppy. Spotting animals from the boat becomes an even bigger challenge, now that they've lost their eyes in the sky. So they turn their attention in a slightly different direction, trying to determine why the mantas seem to be favoring certain pockets of water. They enlist oceanographer Lisa Holton to help. She uses the coordinates where manta rays have been spotted so far as a guide and analyzes the water in that specific area.
She has CTD machines that measure salinity and temperature. So we thought, why not bring her out and try and put some of these machines down so that we can capture this information and find out if there's upwelling in these areas and the mantas may be specifically using these areas to feed.
So where are the actual sensors on this thing?
Okay, so this one's temperature.
Temperature.
This is conductivity, which is salinity.
Right.
And
And that'll be
just filled
depth.
in.
Excellent. Yeah, it's actually pretty compact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is all just batteries.
So strategically, we just drop one in the morning. We should obviously do it incrementally throughout the day.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if the conditions change throughout the day.
Temperature, salinity, and depth measurements will help determine if there's an upwelling, bringing colder water, rich with nutrients, up to the surface. These nutrients support the growth of plankton, which in turn provides food for filter feeders, like manta rays.
We just stopped the boat because I can see there's substantial amounts of zooplankton at the surface. This is exactly what mantas love to eat, and it's actually, Lisa, a great place probably to drop the CTD.
The team spends the day taking measurements in different locations and at different depths along the coast.
Just finished the very last CTD drop. It was a really long day on the boat today. But what we did is we actually went to all the different areas where we had seen the mantas and some of the areas where we consistently don't see mantas and dropped some inshore, some offshore. So hopefully we'll be able to get some good data. You off?
Yeah.
It's awesome having you. Let's get you out of here. Big long drive, eh?
The expedition comes to a bittersweet end.
Glad you came, buddy.
Thanks very much.
Fabrice and Andrea weren't able to deploy the camera tags, but they were able to prove that oceanic manta rays are routinely here at the Sardine Run.
We managed to deploy the first 2 satellite tags on manta rays in South African waters, which is amazing. Hopefully the data will complement what we found out from that Mozambique manta that migrated here before.
The team also found several baby reef manta rays, suggesting there's a resident population of reef mantas in these waters as well. The most southerly population of reef mantas ever documented in Africa. But while the expedition has come to an end, the analysis of data is only just beginning. Three months later, some of the results from the expedition are finally ready for Andrea to review.
So when we tagged the animals, I think the assumption on my part was that we were going to see tracks along the coast. The tracks couldn't be more opposite to what I was expecting, which is that they kind of look like they nipped inshore to the Port St. John's area very quickly, and then almost just as quickly they seem to have disappeared straight off into the Indian Ocean. The more we're learning about these mantas, the more we're learning that they're actually an offshore species, a species that actually spends a lot of its time in international waters, waters that are not policed. And that's going to have huge implications on their conservation, because these are the areas where we have the majority of our industrial fishing, and even more to the point, these are the areas where a lot of illegal fishing is happening. This information needs to get to government on local levels and regional areas so that they can examine what these animals are doing in their location and figure out how they're going to tackle this conservation problem.
Although Andrea's results confirmed that oceanic manta rays do attend the sardine run, what they're doing there remains a mystery.
I'm still baffled by why they're choosing to come into the Port St. John's area. And that's one of the reasons why I brought my friend Lisa out. I thought maybe she could help, shed some light on why these mantas would be choosing this specific area. And unfortunately, we weren't able to solve that mystery.
Lisa's CTD results showed no indication of a specific upwelling that would suggest nutrients being pumped into the coast.
If they're not there for the plankton, are they actually there for the sardines? This is the first hint that perhaps mantas would be moving inshore to target something like an anchovy ball or a sardine ball. And so I think that's going to be the thing that takes me back there, because I want to solve this mystery.
It's probably one of the toughest places to research manta rays that I've been to. But, this is not the end. We're not giving up.
Every year I promise myself I'm not coming back. This is too dangerous, this is too hard, this is too cold. What am I doing? Spending a lot of time here. But a month later I booked for the next year and we start it all over again every single time. There's something about it, it's addictive. You need to go back, and it's real exploration. That place really needs help, and I think there's more to it than people think, and we want to find out what's going on there.
Solving this mystery could help save the future of both reef and oceanic manta rays in this part of the world.